Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're now on day 35 out of 50 of our Road to a 750 plus on the SAT Math, and this video is going to be a different type. We're now transitioning to full-length practice tests. These aren't the adaptive type. However, they still include the same types of questions as the adaptive tests. These just have 27 questions on each math section instead of, I believe, 22 on the regular one. So, yeah, this is what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be doing half of Module 1 of the math today, half of Module 1 of the other half of Module 1 of the math tomorrow. So, let's start with this question over here. We have the scattered plot shows the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit and the distance above sea level in feet measured at 6 locations on Mount Jefferson. A line of best fit is also shown. So looking at the graph, at a distance of 4,000 feet above sea level, what is the temperature in Fahrenheit predicted by the line of best fit? So we look at 4,000 on the x-axis here, and we see that this is here, and that lines up with the y point here, which is 35. And that's your answer. Rectangle P has an area of 72 square inches. If a rectangle with an area of 20 square inches is removed from rectangle P, what is the area in square inches of the resulting figure? This is just simple subtraction, and you get 52 as your answer. Which value is a solution to the given equation? Okay, so we have the absolute value of P is equal to 4, so P is equal to positive 4 and negative 4. Since the absolute value will output 4 regardless of the sign. So our answer is 4 there. Lorenzo purchases a box of cereal and some strawberries at the grocery store. Pay attention to wording here, a box of cereal. Lorenzo paid $2 for the box of cereal and $1.90 per pound for the strawberries. If Lorenzo paid a total of $9.60 for the box of cereal and the strawberries, which of the following equations can be used to find P, the number of pounds of strawberries Lorenzo purchased? So we know it's 190 per strawberry. We can call that X, plus the $2 for the single box of cereal, and he spent a total of $9.60. So this is going to be your equation right here. If that doesn't make sense, make sure the variable is next to the coefficient that has per pound, because that's the only thing that is manipulated by a variable. So that gives us an answer of A. The bar graph summarizes the charge in kilowatt hours a battery received each day for 15 days. For how many of these 15 days did the battery receive a charge of zero kilowatt hours? Look at our graph, 0 kilowatt hours received for 6 days. So that's your answer. What is the x? Okay, wait, sorry, I can't skip number 6. A line in the xy plane has a slope of 9 and passes through the point 0, -5. The equation y equals px plus r defines the line, where p and r are constants. What is the value of p? Okay, so remember, y equals mx plus b, but here it's just saying y is equal to px plus r. So r is equal to b and p is equal to m. So looking at this, it says we have a slope of 9. It also gives us a point, but if we plug in the slope into our equation right here, y is equal to 9x plus b, and we look at this, px plus r, we see that 9 is actually p. So p is equal to 9. Sometimes it gives you more information than you actually need. Just take what you need. What is an x-coordinate of an x-intercept of the graph of y equals 3 times Okay, this equation right here, in the xy plane. So if we look at this, we know that x can be equal to 14, and our whole equation is going to be set to 0. Because if we have 14 here, this is going to be 0. When you multiply anything by 0, the whole equation is 0. Same thing when we plug in -5, same thing when we plug in -4. So it's asking what is an x-coordinate. So you only need one of these answers. Any of them will be correct. So just, this is a fill-in, put in any of those and you'll be fine. Okay, now we have a graph. The graph shown gives the estimated value in dollars of a tablet as a function of the number of months since it was purchased. What is the best interpretation of the y-intercept of the graph in this context? Okay, y-intercept, let's first look at what the y-intercept is. It has a value of 225, and this is the value of dollars, and this is the cost of the tablet when it was purchased, so 0 months after purchase, so when it was purchased. The estimated value of the tablet was $225 when it was purchased. That sounds correct. Let's look at the others just to make sure. The estimated value of the tablet 24 months after it was purchased was $225. It wasn't 24 months after. The estimated value of the tablet had decreased by $225 in the 24 months after it was purchased. Also incorrect. The estimated value of the tablet decreased by approximately 2.25% each year after it was purchased. Doesn't say anything about percent there, so A is our answer. I know I'm going a little fast, but you need to work on pacing for the actual exam, so that's why we're going at this speed. Question 9, triangles EFG and JKL are congruent, where E, F, and G correspond to J, K, and L respectively. The measure of angle E is 45 degrees, and the measure of angle F is 20 degrees. What is the measure of angle J? So whenever I get these geometry questions, I like to draw them out. So we know that angle E is 45. I'm just going to draw two triangles like so. We know they're congruent, so they're going to be the exact same size and have the same angles. So we have E, F, G. So that is congruent to J, K, L. So if this is 45 degrees, we know that this is also going to be 45 degrees. And what's that looking for? What is the measure of angle J? 45 degrees. That's simply your answer. Even though it gives you, once again, extra information for F, 20 degrees, that's also going to be the angle of K, but it's not asking for K, it's only asking for J. So look what the question is asking for. Don't get overwhelmed with other information. The function F is defined by f of x is equal to 1/2 x plus 6. What is the value of f of 4? Simply just plug in 4. It's going to be 1/2 times 10, which is equal to 5. D is going to be your answer for this question. Super easy. Okay. The graph of an absolute value function and a linear function is shown. What is the solution xy to the system of two equations? Okay, so we're literally just looking for the point of intersection, and it's actually labeled for us here, so it's going to be right here. So looking at our x-intercept first, we have -3.5, and we only have fractions in our answer, so we know that -3.5 is actually equal to -7/2. So it's -7/2 is our x, and then our y point is going to be 4.5. So we know 4.5 is equal to 9/2. So if we look at our answer choices, C is the one that matches up with that, and that's going to be our answer. Question 12. One of the equations in a system of linear equations is given. The system has infinitely many solutions. Which equation could be the second equation in the system? Sorry, one of two equations in the system. Okay, so if we know that it has infinitely many solutions, that means that we know that both lines follow y equals mx plus b because they're linear. For them to have infinitely many solutions, we know that m and b have to be the same for both lines. So looking at our equations, this is going to be equal to 12x plus 3, and that's not equal to our equation up here. And then we have 12x plus 6. If we distribute that, that's also incorrect. And then be careful of the 2y on this side. So these are going to cancel out when we divide, and this is going to be over 2. So that's going to give us an equation of y is equal to 6x plus 3 over 2. Still not the same. And then we have this equation over here. These two are going to cancel out, and we're going to get y is equal to 6x plus 3. And that's going to be your answer since they're the same line. Okay, if 6 over 7p plus 18 is equal to 5 or equal to 54, what is the value of 7p? Make sure you're paying attention. It's asking for 7p, not the value of p. That's where a lot of students get tripped up on. So to fix this equation, we're going to multiply both sides by 7 over 6. Make sure you're multiplying the whole thing. Actually, before that, make sure to simplify by subtracting 18 from both sides. So you get 6 over 7p is equal to 54 minus 20 is 36. So, and then you multiply both sides by 7 over 6. This is going to make it easier. So you get p is equal to, simplify that to 6, and then we get 42. Now, it's asking for the value of 7p. So 7p is equal to 7 times 42. And remember, we're allowed to use our calculators, so when we use it, we get 7 times 42 is equal to 294. And that's going to be your answer for this question. Now, the solution to the given system of equations is x comma y. What is the value of y? There are multiple ways to solve this, but looking at this, I see that instead of multiplying both equations by a certain number, it's easier to just plug in this equation, y is equal to 9x plus 12, into this equation. So we get x plus 7, and then we plug in that value for y, which is 9x plus 12, is equal to 20. So we get x plus 63x plus 12 times 7, which is 84, is equal to 20. So we get 64x is equal to negative 64, x is equal to negative 1. Now, what we need to do is plug this number into one of the equations above. I'm going to pick the second one. Actually, I'm going to pick the first one since it will give us y directly. Y is equal to 9 times x plus 12. Now we plug in our value for x. We have negative 1 plus 12. So y is equal to negative 9 plus 12, which is equal to 3. And that's your value for y. Looking at question 15 here, we're only doing 3 more, so almost done. A circle in the xy plane has the equation as follows. Which of the following gives the center of the circle and its radius? So remember, the formula for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, which is equal to r squared. And we know that the center is point hk. And we know that the radius is r. So, given this, we know, let's look at the radius first. We have 64, so 64 is equal to 8 squared. And then, looking at our center point, we have 13k. So we know that our radius is 8, I don't know why I wrote a squared there. And we know that this is our center point, so looking at our answers, the center is at 13 comma k, which is correct, and the radius is 8. Yeah, that's our answer. Moving on to the next one. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to the absolute value of x minus 4x. What value of a satisfies f of 5 minus f of a is equal to negative 15? Simply just simplify the equation they give you already. This is going to be negative 3x. And we know that f of 5 is equal to what? It's going to be negative 3 times 5. And this is going to be the absolute value of negative 15, which is equal to 15. So we know that 15 minus f of a is equal to negative 15. So that gives us, if we move f of a to this side, and 15 to that side, f of a is equal to 30. what is the value of A, not f of A, but A that satisfies the equation? So f of A is just the equation they give us, f of x, but we're just plugging in a value of A. So if I write this out, we know that this is negative 3x since we simplified the equation already. Negative 3x is equal to 30. We know that negative 3 times x must equal 30 when we take the absolute value of it, and the only answer that satisfies that is C. Okay, the last question for the exponential function f. The value of f of 0 is c, where c is a constant. Of the following equations that defines the function f, which equation shows the value of c as the coefficient or the base? So two options here, coefficient or the base. So one of these values. So we know that f of 0 is going to be when x is equal to 0. So we have 22 times 1.5. And then 0 plus 1, which is equal to 1. This is going to be 22 times 1.5, which is not going to be equal to either of these values. It's going to be the product of them. Looking at this, we get 33 times 1.5 times 0, which is going to be equal to 33, since anything to the 0 is 1. And this matches up with the coefficient, and that's going to be our answer. You can do the same for these, but it's going to be the same deal to the negative 1, which is not the same as either of these numbers. And then we have 74.25 times 1.5 to the negative 2, which is the same deal, not correct. So B is our answer. We're going to resume our Module 1 in the next episode. I hope this helped. Make sure you review any of the questions you may have gotten wrong on your own or that you struggled with while following along. And I'll see you guys in the next one.